Hello, my name is Amy Sturkey. I am a pediatric physical therapist, and I'm so excited to continue to talk with Leah Smith. It's someone I met who, as an intern at the practice that I work with, and she let me know that she's on the spectrum, and I just thought your experience would be really valuable for people to learn from. We were talking about your life so far, and I wanted to ask you, you'd said that you'd done some speech therapy. You did it 2 different intervals, you'd done speech therapy. Can you tell me what you think makes a good therapist?
Somebody who is very patient, open and receptive, like taking the time to actively listen to their clients, because that's really important in a therapeutic realm.
Right.
Also just being understanding, even though like if they're not on the spectrum, like understanding to the to a certain degree of being able to empathize and stuff.
Right.
Because I just feel that's a necessary thing for therapists to have in their skill set, because like you never know who you're dealing with and also what their needs might be. So like also adaptability.
Right.
Because again, you never know who you're encountering, what their needs are, and like your way of doing things for one client may not work on the next client.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
And I see families that have children with autism try so many different things. There are special diets or special supplements. Did you try any of those things?
I did not.
Okay. There are things like therapeutic listening, where you listen to particular music, or transcranial brain stimulation, or reflex integration, or ABA. Did you do ABA?
I did not. I don't even know if that existed when I was a kid. So
okay, so ABA is all the rage now.
But also knowing that, like, because I was talking to another physical therapist at one point, like, she mentioned that, like, back when I was a kid, so obviously, like, the last, like, 15, 20 years ago, like, the research just wasn't there to support it as a viable treatment.
Right.
Like, for OT, PT, in addition to having maybe speech or some type of behavioral therapy, there just wasn't enough research in those areas.
Right.
So.
And you don't really have an opinion on most of those. You really highly recommended the speech therapy. And are there others that you feel like you wish you had done, or?
I definitely wish that I had gotten OT, occupational therapy, growing up, because I've seen as an intern how beneficial it's become for those on the spectrum with like delays or like executive functioning and stuff like that. I've just seen how it can be really great and, like I said, beneficial for someone's life who's on the spectrum.
And so as I bet that was interesting as an intern, watching kids get treatments that you didn't get and think, wow, if I'd had that, it might have really helped me.
Yeah, especially with some stuff like executive function or even like feeding therapy, because I'm also very weird about like certain smells, textures with food, like just stuff like that too.
So there are certain textures that you don't tolerate in terms of food?
Yeah.
And does that limit what you can eat?
Yeah, I would say so. Also with smells, like certain scents, I'm just like, okay, that's way too strong. Like,
I have things that I can't eat because of the way they smell.
Yeah. Or it's a combination of both, honestly, just because both factors can influence, you know, how I feel about a certain food.
And so you watched, Marion does speeding therapy? Or other people do?
I know the speech therapists do, like Ashley does at the Pineville office.
And so did you get to see some other people get feeding therapy, or just became aware of it?
I did get to see a few who underwent it. also, like, there are several OTs at the other office who are certified to do feeding, so I thought that was cool to see in real life action.
And did it make you, I mean, it's not too late to work on some of these things.
I guess not.
Yeah.
I just kind of wish I had it as a kid,
Right.
because I like to joke that I have the diet of a 7-year-old.
Yeah, so how would you qualify your food limitations? As mild limitations, significant, moderate?
Maybe mild to moderate, I guess.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, you are still quite young, and things can still change, and
That's true.
it's not too late to work on things if that's something you desire. I think I've seen, as a physical therapist, I see people who come back later when they were in teenage years, maybe stopped and weren't interested. It kind of sometimes takes people to be older to kind of have a perspective of what's important and why it's important. It wasn't just something that your mom was bringing to be mean. It was, something that was meaningful. And once you have a perspective as an adult to see why it's important, that you're in a better place to make changes. So I would encourage you to just not rule out making changes and having help to work through those things.
That's a good point.
Tell me, what would you like people to know about autism and how to help them interact with somebody who has or is on the spectrum?
I guess, like, definitely take the time to actually listen to their story instead of just writing it off really fast.
Uh-huh.
And appreciate their perspective, because, like, they're the one with the lived experiences and maybe not the person who's listening. So, like, for example, like you and I, like, appreciating my perspective and just, like, listening but also appreciating it, because, it's very different, from what you've lived and experienced. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, do you get, yeah.
Do you feel like sometimes people kind of do not respect your experience?
How do I word this? I guess, like, the thing is, like, when I tell people, like, I have that preconceived fear in the back of my mind, like, oh my gosh, like, what if they think of me differently, think of me as, like, not, like, on the same level as them, per se.
So you have a fear that if you let people know that they will think less of you?
I guess so, yeah. And I guess that's also part of, like, the perfectionism and just, like, fear of failure that I have deeply rooted inside of me. So there's that too.
And do you think that's because that can be personality traits in general, but you think those are more strong because of your life on the spectrum?
I feel like they're definitely heightened for sure. Just because, I don't know, like, but they're definitely, I don't know, I just don't know how to explain it, but it definitely feels like they're heightened more.
And so if you let somebody know you have autism, what do you want them to do differently? That you want them to be more patient and take more time to listen?
Yeah, that, and then also, like, don't try to force us to conform to, like, your non-spectrum ways, just because that's just not going to blow over very well.
Uh-huh.
I know from seeing it, but also firsthand experience, like, because, like, it frustrates us as people on the spectrum. We're just like, what the,
Can you give me an example?
I guess, like, when I'm trying to explain something, I guess, like, in my terms, but the person's just not getting it, and then they finally get it after, like, the 200th time, and I'm like, that's what I've been saying the whole time. it's, I don't know, it's just like a whole thing. Like, I guess one of the big things is like I guess this is one that I saw like when I was an intern in like an OT session. Like, another client was on the spectrum, and you know, the therapist treating them was, you know, trying to get them to come back over because, you know, they were overstimulated, and I could easily tell. And, you know, they were trying to move away from the majority of the people in the room to, like, you know, come back down to the moment and, like, try to, like, de-escalate themselves, like, in a sensory sense, I guess.
Yes.
And, you know, the therapist was like, come back here. We're not done with this. We need to get this done. But I could tell they were super overstimulated because of the way they were acting and the fact that they didn't want to be in that overstimulating environment anymore.
Right.
And I was like, hey, that's not gonna work. Like, they need to regulate again before they can come back and feel safe. Because when you try to like make somebody in that state conform to what you want, it's harder, and then it makes people like us feel frustrated because we're like, we need time to like decompress, get regulated again, because we're just so dysregulated. Like, you basically have to, I guess, like take a step back, evaluate the situation, and find a way or think of a way to like meet them in the middle.
Right. Because
if you're thinking one way and you think it's going to pull them back in, like, good luck. It's not gonna work that well. Like, so like, I guess like also,
yeah.
What I'm thinking, sorry, there's like a bug on the windowsill.
Yeah.
I guess ideally what I'm saying, will you be quiet?
Uh-huh.
Sorry, again, this stupid bug. What I'm saying ideally is like, take the moment to think creatively outside the box to meet them in the middle where they are. Because if you want, like, it's like two ends. Like, if you want them to come to your end, but they're not budging, there's maybe a reason, so you need to compromise and like meet them in the middle.
Right.
Which basically ideally is what I'm saying. Like,
that's a great example.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why you'd make a great therapist. That you have perceptions and experiences that could help, particularly working with people with autism. I have enjoyed so much talking to you, and I hope to encourage you in all the endeavors of your life. And your ability to share your life with others I think it's really meaningful.
Thanks for allowing me to have this opportunity. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I hope you've enjoyed this, and well, I guess we won't get to talk to you next time. This is it. Take care. Bye-bye.
If you liked this video and would like to be notified by email when the next video comes out, click the subscribe button here and click the golden bell icon and ensure notifications are enabled on your account.